open it up for questions. Now, I like interaction. So if somebody has a question along the way that they're just dying to ask, I really don't mind if you just jump right on in. I'm pretty approachable that way. So first of all, I'm 55 years old. I am now an emergency room nurse by trade. Before my first 40 years of life, I spent doing high-level computer IT. I started out, oh gosh, now this really makes me sound old. My second programming language that I learned was COBOL on punch cards when I was about 13 years old. I was published when I was 15 with a chintzy little game for educational game for Apple II Plus and Apple IIe computers. And I did computer consulting to pay my way through college. Ultimately, that career ended up with me being in Europe, working for one of the largest companies in the world, being their lead business consultant for Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. That was, oh gosh, a little more than 15 years ago. And I decided we were going to have a career change. And we moved back to Indiana, to Little Brown County, to the little log cabin that I live in right now. And I didn't know what that next career was going to be. And I volunteered for the local fire department. And the house fires are exciting, but I really got a lot out of the medical runs. And I became an EMT. And then I went back to school and became an RN nurse. So while nursing, this is kind of the genesis of Wave Therapeutics. While nursing, it's been about 8 years ago, I was in the ER and an ambulance came in with a patient that was septic. And if you're familiar with that term, you know that that means somebody is on death's door. It's a kind of a scary condition. And my patient rolls in. They are a bilateral amputee. They're a veteran. He lost his legs in Afghanistan. And he was septic because he had the worst bed sores I'd ever seen in my life. Since some of you might not have had breakfast yet, I won't go into details about that. But suffice it to say that bed sores, the majority of them form close to the filthiest part of the human body. So, you know, you got to imagine they're prone to infection. And this gentleman had uncontrolled sores. He was poor. He lived in a lousy, cheapo wheelchair, kind of like you might find out in front of the grocery store or in front of a Walmart, you know, those little chrome with the strap things that, yeah. And his doctor had prescribed a $4,000 wheelchair cushion to help treat these bed sores, but the guy couldn't afford it. He lived in a trailer and, you know, like I say, he's dirt poor. And as a result, these horrible sores got worse and worse, and until they finally became infected and became my patient. I got to know him that day, and I never really saw him again after I sent him up to ICU, but he's been on my heart, you know, virtually every day since. And after meeting that guy, I decided that I wanted to combine my healthcare skills and my technical skills to see if I could come up with a better solution to the problem that was affordable to anybody who needed it. And well, that was kind of a naive challenge because, like I said, it was 8 years ago. It's also 8 prototypes ago. My first prototype of my new technology I built out of bicycle inner tubes and a slab of heavy duty leather. I still have that thing. Someday I'll hang it on the wall to show off. Um, what I did for the first 7 years of that venture is I literally funded everything out of my 401k, all the development, all the experimenting, all the playing around. And finally, about 3.5 years ago, we had gotten the development to a point where I decided I was going to go full time. And I left the hospital environment and we formed our company. And I've been working full time on that venture, still funded off my own 401k. And yes, that is as scary as it sounds. I told a lot of people that uh, if I don't make a success of this, I'm going to be spending my golden years under a bridge somewhere. No. Luckily, it looks like that's not going to happen. Thank you, Lord. Um, so we, like many people, I didn't have a great idea how to bring a medical device company to market, or quite frankly, any business. I had owned businesses in the past. That didn't mean I was necessarily good at it. And so one of the first things that we did, which turned out to be incredibly useful to us, is we contacted the SCORE organization. And I can't remember what the acronym exactly stands for. Society of Retired Executive, da, 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 da. But basically, SCORE is a federal program. It's run all across the nation that links budding business people with retired executives to try to tap into that wealth of experience. And it just so happened that my SCORE mentors and I would meet at the Columbus Chamber of Commerce. And those gentlemen were just a powerhouse. Folks from banking, from manufacturing, from insurance. I mean, what a perfect combination for what I was trying to do. And to this day, I credit them with a lot of the successes we were able to make. Another big step that we had is about 1.5 years ago, I reached out to an area vascular surgeon and asked for some commentary on one of my earlier prototypes and to see if he might be willing to help us do some initial testing. He was so excited about our project that he ultimately became our first investor. And so back in November of last year, we received seed funding of $500,000, which really helped us accelerate things nicely. Also, about that same time, I leveraged my networks, and I'll tell you some networking stories here in a minute, but I leveraged my networks and ended up meeting the director of the Veterans Health Administration's innovation ecosystem. Now, the Veterans Health Administration is our nation's largest healthcare provider. So basically, what I met, the person I met was a key decision maker with my largest possible customer in the United States. How could you go wrong with that? And I didn't. He was extremely excited and about the prospect of our technology, and excited about the fact that not only did it seem like we achieved that goal, that we were going to be better at preventing bed sores, but we were also going to be uniquely affordable. I started the story by telling you about a $4,000 device that my patient had been prescribed. Let me describe that to you. So this cushion, and that's all it is. It's an 18-inch by 18-inch by about 3-inch thick wheelchair cushion, okay? And it's got air bladders on the right side and the left side. And it's got a pump and batteries. And what it does is it teeter-totters the patient from side to side all day long. 1 minute, the right side's inflated. The next minute, the left side's inflated. $4,000. Now, from an engineering perspective, if you were to tear that apart, it was maybe $150 of parts, okay? And I found that personally morally offensive, that there was a company out there gouging folks, taking advantage of their healthcare crisis to make a huge profit. I'm not against making a profit, but let's make a fair profit, right? And so what it sounded to me like was a $600 EpiPen or a $1,000 vial of insulin. And I find that morally repugnant. So what we've done is we've created a device that not only changes up pressure points, but it physically helps return the blood from the lower extremities of these patients back to the heart and lungs so it can get reoxygenated. That's our special IP, our patented special sauce. We've also done that such that we're going to be able to bring our product to market for maybe about 1/8 of the price of that $4,000 cushion. We're looking at entering the market somewhere between $400 and $600. And in addition, when we enter the market, we're already crafting what we're calling the Wave Indigent Program, which is a grant program so that if somebody can't afford it, they can get one for free. You know, our goal isn't, I know this sounds unflattering in today's business environment, but our goal isn't getting rich. Our goal is saving lives. There's 60,000 Americans each year that die from complications of bed sores, and that doesn't need to happen. We want to make a huge dent in that number. So I've kind of bounced around and taken some tangents. So last thing I was talking about is we got the VH8. Really excited and interested. I'm happy to say that's going to culminate in a couple of weeks with us signing a mutual cooperative research and development agreement with the Veteran Health Administration. So not only will that make their resources accessible to my company, but it'll also turn us into their preferred vendor for these solutions. So I'm doing my little happy dance right there. Okay. Now, I've only talked about wheelchair cushions, but actually our technology could be applied to a bunch of different things, including full mattress toppers for those people that are bedbound, neonate beds for premature infants, and then a whole slew of consumer products. How many times have one of you been on a long car trip cross country and your legs started aching, or maybe your ankles started swelling up? Or the same thing with, long haul flight. You want to go to a vacation, some exotic place, and by the time you get there, your legs look like sausages. Well, our consumer products will be designed not only to add comfort, but increase health by reducing the risk of blood clots and other problems. So we've got a whole bunch of things on the market. Coming towards the market. We're also diversifying a little bit even before we get to market, because I'm a big believer in not having all your eggs in one basket. And we've been working in conjunction with Rose Holman Ventures down in Terre Haute to produce a secondary product for muscle tension relief. And that one, actually, the development time was a lot quicker than our core technology, the wheelchair cushion. And there's a chance we might end up going to market with that other product first. It was odd because that was meant to be like a sideline, and we generated a lot of buzz and interest with that as well. So let's see. Now, I wanted to mention to you some of the challenges that we've had. Okay. So if any of you out there are thinking about starting a business, have already started a business, are looking for funding, the state, the nation has these events called pitch competitions. So pitch competition, basically you stand up before a crowd of judges and potential investors and you talk about your business. You run through your pitch deck. Usually it's a 10-slide, high-level overview of what you're trying to accomplish, and the financial expectations you hope to hit. And it's a great source to get exposure, to get practice talking about your business to other business people. And it's also a great source to help get some initial funds. Early on, we did a pitch competition up at Purdue and won a $20,000 award. We won a couple of other smaller awards. And, you know, those kind of things were very helpful, especially at the start of my business. I told you I was paying for this out of my 401k. And every time I took money out of that, I took a big tax hit. And you never want to be in a position where you're paying your mortgage off your 401k. Trust me, you don't want to go there. So I utilize these pitch competitions. Now, here's something you want to be aware of, though. Many pitch competitions, the prize isn't a gift. The prize is an investment. Well, like any investment, there are investment terms. And you always have to be aware of what those terms of the investment are, because they may or may not be favorable to your business. I bring this up because I want to point out, I won't name names, but last year, about the same time that I closed that seed round and got my first investment money of $500,000, I got that at very attractive terms. And about the same time, I competed in a large pitch competition and won what would have given me an $80,000 investment into my business. Still, I know I just got $500,000, but 80,000 was still a good amount of money that would help quite a bit. Unfortunately, when we got down to the term sheet, they were unattractive to the point that I ultimately made the decision not to take that money. Believe you me, it hurt leaving 80 grand on the table, but they wanted to value my company at less than I had already had it valued by the investment that got made, you know, the month earlier. So basically they wanted me to take a big step backwards. And that didn't make sense. That also wasn't fair to my existing investor, who would have suddenly had his investment in my company devalued pretty spontaneously. So we had to leave that money on the table. And it taught me a valuable lesson. Look at the term sheet before you waste your time on a lot of that stuff. Now, warranted, even if you don't take a prize like that, going to pitch competitions can be very valuable because it gives you experience talking about your company. It gives you critical eyes looking at your business plan so that you can take that information and revise things and hopefully improve your methodologies. And also, there often are a bunch of private investors in the audience out there. And even if you don't win the prize, so to speak, you might make an introduction to somebody that turns everything around for you. It's another benefit behind these kind of organizations. Who knows who's out there, you know, listening into this pitch right now, and maybe I'll get a phone call tomorrow saying, hey, we want to invest in Live Therapeutics. It's always a good thing to talk about your business. Okay, some other challenges. Being resistant to change. Okay, so I'm sure many of you have heard the term pivot. In a business context, pivot means realizing the direction I was going isn't the best direction for my business. And I've got to turn. I've got to do something different if I want to survive. Early on, we had made the mistake, we had made the decision that we were going to lead with our consumer products. And the reason why we made that decision is, even though we felt like it might be a harder market to break into, there weren't all the regulatory issues associated with creating a medical device. So, of course, there's a lot more consumers out there than there are patients. But consumers don't need our technology. Patients do need our technology. Also, business owners need our technology. I'm taking a couple of tangents here, and I'm sorry about that. I'll bring it all back together in a moment. So business owners, let's say, Kylie, imagine you own a big nursing home network and you have 3,000 beds in your nursing home scattered across the nation, and you take care of patients day in and day out. Well, every year, 20% of your patients will develop some type of a pressure injury. 5% of your patients, so that's 1 in 20, will develop a pressure injury so bad that it requires medical intervention and maybe even hospitalization at an average cost of $44,000. An incident, not a year, an incident. Huge cost. Now, here's another thing. Because that patient was in your bed, in your nursing home when they got that bed sore, you are responsible for paying for that treatment. Not insurance, not the patient. You are. It's considered to be caused by neglect. And so nursing homes get hit by a huge cost because of this problem each and every year. It's also the second leading reason they're sued. And they spend billions of dollars on those lawsuits. All told, bed sores cost the U.S. economy anywhere between $9 and $11 billion every year. So now I'm telling you that because I was talking about pivots. Ultimately, we wanted to go into the medical space, but we felt like there were too many barriers to get us there. So we were going to start out with a consumer product to be able to generate some income and afford what we thought were costly clinical tests, were costly entry to market issues. But after doing some research, helped with, we participated in an accelerator with Purdue University called the Firestarter program. If you get a chance to do accelerators, they can be very helpful and get you a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge early on. So during that whole process, we were able to link up with knowledgeable business people that explained that going into medical first and being able to tap into that much more valuable market first really wasn't as difficult as we thought it was. And that our product, unlike things that get injected into a body or surgically implanted into a body, our product was called what's a class 1 medical device, which didn't have nearly the same kind of regulatory issues and challenges that we had thought it did from our naive earlier position. So we pivoted. We turned 180 degrees, and instead of leading with consumer, decided we're going to lead with that valuable medical product. And quite frankly, it was one of the best decisions we could have made. When trying to bring a consumer product to market, investors are bored by that. They understand all the challenges associated with consumer, but when we could tell them the compelling need in the medical environment, instantly people became a lot more interested in our business. You've got to be receptive to making those kind of pivots when they present themselves. And sometimes, when this is your baby, right? You've invested your time, your heart, your soul, your money into this. And that passion that you've got sometimes makes you a little mono-focused at the direction that you think you should go. Put your pride on the shelf, listen to your advisors. If you use SCORE, listen to your SCORE team. If you go through an accelerator, listen to the entrepreneurs in residence that you're working with, and be receptive to change if that's what you need to do. So I'm just kind of rambling right here. I want to pause for a moment and just see if there are any questions about the things that I've talked about so far.
Hi, this is Donna. I just had something hit me, and I just wanted to throw it out there in case it wasn't in your ideas of things for the future. When I was pregnant, I had restless leg syndrome. And I thought that was very interesting because as you were talking about things, I was wondering if that would, what your technology would help something like that, because I really don't even know the logistics of what it was causing it. I just know I just had it while I was pregnant and I couldn't sleep at night. So I had to take sleeping pills, that kind of stuff. So is that something that technology could help with? Would that be a market for that?
There's a possibility, quite frankly. I don't know, but that's a really interesting idea.
I thought I'd throw it out there because it's something I dealt with. So
that would be wonderful. I'm not sure what the causes of restless leg are, but if they are caused by circulatory issues or a nerve being irritated by adverse pressure, we definitely might have an impact in that area.
I think that's what it was because of the pressure. The further I got along in the process, the more it hurt. And it wasn't at the beginning, but the more pressure the baby had, then my legs just had that problem. And it wasn't when I was standing or during the day. It was always at night when I was sitting or laying. So just throw it out at you.
There you go. So I've had restless leg all my life. And as I've gotten older, it's eased up a little bit. But I tell you what, one handy thing is if I'm sitting down and my leg's bouncing, that's a great place to set a newborn baby because they love getting bounced around like that. That's the only useful thing I've found to do with restless leg. There you go.
So true.
Any other questions right now?
I want to tag on to something you said about pitch competitions, because one of the things I wanted to share with the group is the mill in Bloomington, our partner with Velocities, our partnership, is hosting and coordinating the Crossroads pitch competition. Now, it's different this year. They're running the whole statewide program. It has a $5,000 prize and an opportunity to pitch to a group of investors. So contrary to what your experience might have been, Jessica, this one takes out that negative aspect of, putting the valuation where you didn't want it to be. So we're actually doing something at noon. We're doing another call at noon with the organizer of Crossroads Pitch, Andy Lehman. We're going to do a Zoom call and just answer people's questions. So if you have an interest, ping me and I'll send you the Zoom link directly. But Velocities is sponsoring that, and it's been reworked, and I think it's going to be outstanding. So looking for Indiana startups. The deadline is is set for September 10th to send a recorded pitch to entry. But if you need a couple more days because you're just hearing about it, we could probably work that out for you. So I wanted to get that plug in. And I also wanted to let folks know that we've signed a contract with G-Beta. G-Beta's representatives have done 49 Fridays before, but come spring, we'll be running our own 5-company cohort for Bloomington and Columbus. So it's a great opportunity if you have an idea to get it ready to be a part of the G-Beta accelerator, which I'm telling you, 2 years ago, I went to G-Beta's pitch at the end of their accelerator. 2 of the 5 companies that were in that cohort are in this year's top 10 venture capital deals list through Elevate Ventures. One of them got 4 million and one got 10 million this year. So it really is a great way to launch and accelerate the work on your company. So thanks for giving me those entry points for those announcements, Jessica.
And folks, I don't want to give anybody the indication that pitch contests are a challenge. That's not what I was saying. Free money when you can get it is a great thing. We love free money. I just want to point out that whenever you're given an opportunity at an investment, make sure you look at the terms, right? You're not going to buy a house without knowing what price it is and without having an inspection first. And it's the same kind of thing. When you're talking about those large sums of money, usually people don't just give them away. They come with some strings attached. What other questions do people have?
I had a couple questions. By the way, I just want to say I love your story, Jessica, and I think it's amazing how you went from computer science to nursing. I mean, 2 of some of the most challenging careers, and then to entrepreneurship. I mean, that's just amazing. But I was wondering how you kind of developed the technical aspects of the product. Did you do that yourself? Because I know you mentioned you had technical experience, or did you have to bring in a partner? Can you talk about the development of that a little bit?
I'd be more than happy to. So one thing I didn't mention about myself is I have been a lifelong hacker, maker, artist, tinker, inventor. I have, even though when I was in high school, they didn't call it this, but I have ADD kind of off the charts. When I was in high school, they didn't call it ADD. They just called you spastic. And, you know, people think about ADD and they want to create a disorder out of it. I call it another discovery daily. I just have a lot of interests. So you can't see around me now, and I'm glad for that because my house is a total mess. But I've got a 3D printer just off to my left. I've got another 3D printer out in the other room. I've got a laser cutter. I've got a CNC router. And none of these were expensive things. They were all things that I got either free or very cheaply and had to tweak and work on and create. So early on, my development was from me. I'm not a mechanical engineer. I'm not an electrical engineer, but I'm enough of a hacker that I was able to tweak and play with. And if I ran into a headache, I had a collection of friends that I could ask, or sometimes I'd reach out to university offices, find a professor or a grad student and say, hey, listen, I'm trying to do this. Can you offer me a tip? Sometimes they wouldn't take my call. Other times they would, and I'd get some great handy information. So I did a lot of the initial development myself, which saved a lot of time. Now, how does that apply to you folks that might be thinking about creating your own business and coming up with your own product? the most important lesson therein is when somebody tells you, well, you don't have that skill, or you don't have that knowledge, or you don't have that capability, ignore it. You do. You can do anything you set your mind to. Anything. You know, the person that's the smartest electrical engineer in the world, they started out as a punk kid that didn't know how to change a flat tire on their bike, right? They learned those skills. If they can learn those skills, so can you. Working in the emergency room as a nurse, you quickly learn that the doctors that are around you put on their pants just the same way that you do. And they're just as prone to make mistakes as you do. And as a result, you humanize those people. And you can also superhumanize yourself. There's nothing that separates an Elon Musk from me except a big pot of money that hopefully someday I'll have myself. That'll be kind of nice. And there's nothing that separates you from those kind of people as well. If you want to innovate, innovate. If you want to create something, dive right in and try to create it. If you have a question, don't let that daunt you. Instead, find resources to help you overcome that challenge and keep striding forward. Did that kind of answer it?
Yes, thank you so much. That was great story and great advice for everyone. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Like I said, my first prototype I built out of bicycle inner tubes, folks. I wish I had it with me right now. I'd show you and you'd all get a chuckle out of it. But it worked. So there you go. Anybody else? You know what I'd like to do if I could? I'd like to hear, we did a real quick buzz through the group, but some of you might have business ideas that why are you at a group like this? You're not in it just to spend time on your Friday morning. You're in it because maybe you're thinking about starting your own business, or you already have started your own business. And I'd like to hear about those stories and see if there's anything that I might be able to offer that could help you along your way. So does anybody want to tell me about what they're working on? Oh, don't be shy. Okay. So listen, Cindy has my contact information. If anyone has a question that comes up or wants to bounce an idea around, and you want to do it offline so you're not, sharing in front of a big crowd, I would welcome her to share my contact information with anybody who wants it. And feel free to reach back if you're so moved.
Yeah, that's a very generous offer, Jessica. Thank you. I think you just have such a great story. You just do such a good job building the business case for this product. And it certainly shows in every time I've talked to you, I have seen your deep compassion for people, that, your intention really is to help people and save lives and solve a problem. And today was no different. I certainly just respect and applaud those efforts. It's just clear that you want to make a difference. And I'm so excited for the success you've had. What are the next steps for you going forward? What does the next 6 weeks, 3 months look like for you?
So as part of this relationship with the Veterans Health Administration, we have access to one of the most highly respected researchers when it comes to the area of wound care and pressure ulcer prevention. I mean, just what a huge coup. So guys, I'm an inventor and I'm an ER nurse. That doesn't make me a wound care expert. I've learned an awful lot along the way, but having the credibility of having that person associated with our project is incredible. So we've already cut tooling for the core parts of our technology, and we're getting ready to manufacture and hopefully be to market within about 6 months. But having that person on staff is not on staff, but as part of the team, is helping us tweak and revise and improve and take something from a 92% solution to hopefully a 97% solution. Also, to help with that goal, we've created a what we're calling a founders program, and we've reached out to wheelchair users across the country to tell them about what we're doing and tweak their brains to get lessons learned. I mean, if you've lived in a wheelchair for 22 years, you know what works and what doesn't work. And we want to make sure we capture that knowledge before we finalize our product and go to market. So those are a couple of the big exciting things. And then just out of the blue, this tangential project that we've been working on. I started this project about a year ago as a sideline. I told you I'm attention deficit, right? So I've always got to be cautious about shiny, what was that? What was this? And, being distracted. It's very hard for me to stay focused on the core mission of WAVE. But diversification can be a useful thing. And I came up with this idea, and I talked to my business advisors, and they thought, that might make a nice addition to your portfolio. And with the help of Rose Holman, we've really accelerated the development of that tangential project such that, I can't tell you about the special sauce yet, but there's the electronics behind it, already produced, working, ready to go. And and like I said, that might be a nice quick win. I've been thinking about how am I going to fund the next stage of WAVE Therapeutics? Am I going to open up another investment round? Well, there's a potential that I could license this and fund everything else for my web cushion from the proceeds from that. So I'm excited. So my next 6 weeks are busier than all heck. They're just crazy.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Any other questions for Jessica before we wrap up?
Jessica, all the way back to the beginning, you'd mentioned you were in Europe. What part of Europe were you in?
So I lived in just outside of London, but my work took me everywhere across the country, across the continent. And it was really a great time. It was a lot of fun. My spouse and I were allowed to, that when I negotiated the job, I said, when I go somewhere, I want my spouse to go with me. And so it was amazing to, have a week of business meetings in Madrid or Amsterdam, and then get to spend the weekend, being around and enjoying the city and enjoying the sights. I love it.
Yeah. I love that you ultimately came back to Brown County and as well. I think growing up, I always felt like I was in the middle of nowhere, but as I've gotten older, I've come to appreciate it a lot more.
It is. It definitely is a beautiful little patch of heaven, isn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So tell me about this little one sitting on your lap.
So this is Sutton. She now has pen marks all over her hand.
Hi, Sutton.
But yeah, she's getting to the part where she's starting to learn that she's cute and is starting to leverage it. So
There you go.
Yep. But no, your story was wonderful. Thank you very much for getting on and sharing with us this morning.
Well, my pleasure. My pleasure. I'm glad to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
on behalf of the whole group and the chamber and the Velocities team, Jessica, thank you, and just continued good luck, and come back in another 6 months or so and tell us how things are going. We're rooting for you.
Thanks, Cindy. You guys have a great day, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much. Thank you.